I got a couple things. First, so Rhodey's a Skrull. He's a Skrull. And I wasn't down on episode 2, but episode 3 kind of confirmed he's a Skrull. You guys pick up on that?
But there was a person in the American government that was a Skrull?
No, well, not just that. There's 2 other things.
I did not pick up on it.
You didn't pick up on the other things?
Well, I like we talked about last time, I already figured.
I know, but you didn't pick up that was a guessing.
Whatever
they confirmed basically in this episode that he's a Skrull.
Whatever it was, I missed that.
All right, I'll tell you.
But I
I'll tell you.
already had pretty much chalked up that he was.
I'll tell you
Skrull.
2 things that occurred. Nick, when he goes into the Admiral's house, and in Talos, Admiral's got Talos. He says, "No one calls me Nick," but in the conversation with Rhodey called him Nick. In the conversation. Second, if you listen to the last part, the voice on the phone, that's Don Cheadle's voice on the phone that calls her, that she calls and she says she needs to speak to Gravik. That's Don Cheadle's voice. So it's fairly. I mean, they could do all kinds of twists and they do all kind of subversions, but it's pretty fairly. It's 95%, I would say, confirmed that Rhodey's a Skrull. Whether I mean, there's obviously all kind of underhanded things they could do. They could make it into a trick. They could make it into a Skrull who's about to replace Rhodey, and he hasn't replaced him yet, but he's taken on his face and his voice, and then because they can just take the voice, but isn't in the memories, but he can take the picture. Just a picture, they can take the face. But most likely, it's pretty obvious that Rhodey's a Skrull. Confirmed. So that's some crazy stuff. That's some great stuff. I wasn't ready to jump on it. I didn't want to believe, but I was ready to. After it was funny. I'm reading like stuff on it because apparently there's another headline. I didn't see where it came from, but they said that Don Cheadle's not going to be in the War Machine armor in Secret Invasion, and then all the comments were like, yeah, well, the Skrulls don't have the War Machine armor, so because everybody's just accepted he's a Skrull.
Well, that goes right back to them saying there won't be any superheroes in this, and like I said after we were talking about episode 2, that whole interaction between Fury and Rhodey was so out of character for James Rhodey. Now, obviously, the MCU and the comics are different, but I mean, Rhodey was like the guy that Fury put with Stark, and in the comics, Rhodey wore the armor for a while and was Iron Man when Stark had to make an appearance and they needed Iron Man and Stark in the same place, and Rhodey was his bodyguard, and they were like best friends, and it was all because Fury set it up. So
that's comics, of course.
But the relationship there was, you're talking about, the conversation was so completely out of character for what James Rhodes, aka War Machine, would have ever said to Nick Fury, who at one point or another was his superior and a friend and a colleague in the field. I think when you've been in military situations and you've been in the field together, there are certain things that are just accepted, that you might be my superior and I might have to do this, I might be commanded to do this, but you're still going to treat that person with a certain level of respect and just understanding and empathy. And none of that was shown by Rhodes in that scene, and it just was a complete red flag to me that, well, Rhodes is a Skrull.
Right.
I mean,
right.
I think I even made that clear the last time.
Well, see, I think you got to keep in mind things are a little different in the MCU. Like, we have never seen on screen. We've never seen Nick Fury and Don and Rhodey on screen together. Like having a conversation. Like obviously the scene at the end of Endgame, the whole move scene, like he's in the back, whatever. But we've never seen them have a conversation on screen until episode 2 of the Secret Invasion. We have never seen that. So as far as their relationship in the MCU isn't necessarily the same as it would be in the comics. Necessarily, we don't really know what that relationship is.
Yeah, but the conversation.
Obviously, Skrull Rhodey said. Well, Skrull Rhodey said he respected Fury. In that conversation, he said he respected him, and I wouldn't be surprised if that came from the memories of the actual Rhodey. But I don't think it's the same as the comics, where like he wouldn't go that far, right? You know what I mean?
I would.
But I think the point that can be gathered from it is that Rhodey's character, as far as respect for the chain of command and all of that, in the Iron Man movies and in the MCU with his relationship with Tony Stark would kind of lend to that agreement that he's not necessary. He isn't kind of that person who would be willing to kind of like, he has a more respect for the book and the chain of command and all of that, then he would, I get your point. I do get your point. And obviously, there's something there because a lot of people, there's always speculation, but a lot of people thought that he was a Skrull already between these two episodes. And then seeing this episode, it's basically confirmed. Now, they do like to do subversion and switch ups.